Hey everybody, welcome to the Sorting Hat Podcast. I am your host, Michael Barryte. As always, I am joined by my co-host, Katie Reed, and we have our returning guest, Ryan Finnerty.
Hi guys.
Ryan is a longtime friend of both of us, a comedy writer, also a writer of horror, head writer for Smosh, Smosh Babies.
And a dang Slytherin!
A dang Slytherin.
Yes.
Which actually, after the last, I'm kind of proud of that now.
Yeah.
I've gone through the shame for a couple days.
Here we go.
And now it's, at least I think we're misunderstood.
Yeah, no. That's a totally fair point. For those curious, this is a podcast where we are going to be acting as the Sorting Hat itself, but we're not going to be sorting people. We're going to be sorting things into the houses of Hogwarts. I am a Ravenclaw. Katie is a Hufflepuff.
Hufflepuff?
And Ryan, as previously mentioned, is a Slytherin. So we've got some diversity as far as opinions go coming into this. This category is a little bit different than the one that you were previously on with us for, Ryan. We're dealing a lot more abstractly as we're dealing with grocery stores.
Okay.
So we're going to be sorting the various grocery stores that exist. We're going to be limiting ourselves to grocery store chains, hopefully more in the national sense, in the United States. So just to give some options of that, you've got your Albertsons LLC, which Albertsons kind of is the overlord to your Acme Markets, your Cars, your Jewel Osco, your Lucky, your Pavilions, your Randalls, your Tom Thumb, your Safeway, your Shaw's, your Star Market, your United Supermarkets, and Vaughn's.
Holy crud. Albertsons LLC is like the Disney of grocery stores.
There's also Kroger, which has Baker's Supermarket, City Market, Dillon's Food Store, Food for Less, Food Co., Fred Meyer, Fry's Food and Drug, Gerb's Supermarkets, Harris Teeter,
These just made up.
JC, King Supers, Owens, Payless Supermarkets,
Payless
QFC,
has got a supermarket?
Yeah.
Ralph's, Roundry's, Ruler's Food Store, Scott's, and Smith. That's just Kroger.
So Ralph's is a local LA one we have, and that falls into Kroger.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow, I had no idea that the grocery market, like, syndicate is also like the Diamond.
Oh, yeah.
Or like it's just two companies.
Oh, well, I mean,
duking it out.
There are a few more. You just were like, oh, wow, that's a huge pull. Then there are the smaller ones like your Costco, your Walmart, your Trader Joe's.
It's funny when Costco's a small one.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's so large. For
Right.
everything else.
But like
Very
it's only got, it doesn't have a trillion stores under it. Although actually now that I'm looking at some of the numbers, yeah, I mean, it's Kroger's Ahold Delhaize. I've never even heard of that, but that's got Food Lion, Hannaford,
Food Lion sounds cool.
Giant Carsley, Giant Landover, Stop and Shop, Martin's Food Markets.
I feel like we're probably going to talk less about all of the ones that Michael could barely read.
Yeah. I like my head is spinning now with trying to remember any of those.
We're gonna try to talk more on the national chains, but if we deviate into more niche supermarkets, please forgive us.
We're all from California.
Yeah,
Well,
we're out of Los Angeles.
You're actually a little more of a world traveler. And,
Sure.
You're a man of the world.
Traveler in the sense that you were born in Ohio.
Sure, but I don't remember.
Okay.
Like I was 6. So
okay.
So you're not going to be able to give us any of those hot Cincinnati stores.
Well, I can give you those, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to.
Okay.
Right.
The hot ones. I can tell you the cold Cincinnati stores.
So we can really go to anything. I just thought maybe it's worth limiting ourselves to. Let's start with perhaps the most. Well, which would you say is the most beloved? Would you say Trader Joe's or Whole Foods is more loved?
More like whole paycheck.
So I'd say more.
All right, we're starting with Whole Foods.
But that definitely, I would say, not the most beloved.
Not the most beloved.
No.
But within some circles.
It's most beloved by people who haven't eaten a processed food in the last 2 decades.
Yeah, it's white people.
I mean, we're
white yuppies.
It sounds like, without saying it, we're saying that Whole Foods is Slytherin.
It's not. It's
First,
not even,
no,
it's
it
not,
so
is.
It's I will go into my reasons.
No, please do. And then the crazy part is I worked at Whole Foods for a couple years. Mm-hmm. Okay, I see where this is going. I'm also a Slytherin. So I see where this.
But I also did I knew that I was pretty sure
Yeah.
you had mentioned that.
All
you
right,
worked at
I'm
a Whole
yielding the
Foods.
floor. You worked there, so tell us what's
Okay.
your take.
So Whole Foods is.
I actually now, before you even
Yeah.
started, am seeing reasons that it could go to either Hufflepuff or Ravenclaw. I'm not necessarily seeing Gryffindor in there.
Whole Foods to me is a Ravenclaw.
Okay.
And here's why. It's totally Ravenclaw.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like they mean totally well, but they mean well in a very corporate, the kind of environment you have if you work there or you shop there. It's like, oh, it's this beautiful green. Just think of the coloring they use and all their sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a very open, clean system, but it's also a very regimented system. But they mean well, and it's all very the science-based sort of stuff. They're not like, oh, like let's get some food that feels good. Let's do this. They want a very specific type of food. They want a very specific like how they're going to go about doing it. They have a cheaper brand, the 365 stuff, and around here for us, they've opened up 365 stores that are closer to Trader Joe's. But the reason they did that is so they could take on Trader Joe's and eliminate them as competition. Whole Foods itself is the Steve Jobs of. You're saying Steve Jobs is Slytherin.
Slytherin.
I think Steve Jobs is Slytherin, but there is an argument to be made.
I would say he's more Ravenclaw, but that's fine. I get it. So it's fine. They go about it in a very heady way. It's not from the heart, and they make it seem like heart, but as you go deeper into it, it's a very specific way. But the whole thing is like, yes, it's about money, but they also treat their employees really well, and you wouldn't know this unless you'd worked there. It's great benefits, all this sort of stuff, and it's a place for kind of like artist slackers that don't have a career path to jump in. But the trouble is, then you become part of this cult. So you're like, oh, cool, like I'm in on this, I'm going to do this sort of thing. But the underlying reasoning is world domination, but it's world domination in like it's better for the people way. And I know both Slytherin and Ravenclaw would see it that way.
Yeah, I mean, Slytherin definitely is always driving for a purity of things,
They do.
which which can
There
lead
only
to
seems
their
to be
detriment.
one sort of social class who can afford to shop at Whole Foods.
Yeah.
Second of all, I would say that they are super opportunistic. The supermarket industry is interesting in that you have to be very calculated with every move because you're dealing with mostly product that's going to go bad immediately.
Of course,
and so you
yeah.
have to like work, but they are doing it on a different level. Like that time that they had those enhanced waters or whatever they're called, and they were putting like weird different like fruits and stuff in it, but then they started getting dumb with it because they were like trying too hard, and they ended up putting asparagus in the water, and they had asparagus infused water because they were just like, let's reach for every throat that we can grasp.
But
Now,
see, that would make me actually lean more towards Ravenclaw because that's them conducting experiments.
Now, and I will promise to try to not get political on this show too much because it's a weird wizard podcast.
Get political.
Recently, it was discovered that Whole Foods was distributing Driscoll's berries, who have been paying their employees less than $6 a day to pick their berries.
Totally. And I get that. And this is actually, I think if you delve into, in a big corporation, we just heard a bunch of places like under this banner, there's all these sort of things. If you delve into any of those, you're going to find that.
Right.
Like it is for Whole Foods, it's bad press. But if you delve into anything anyone's done in the history of them as a corporation,
Sure.
they've done some questionable stuff at
and
best.
the only reason why I would scrutinize them more heavily is because they often tout themselves as being a store that prides itself on ethically sourcing their foods.
Sure.
And that is like a big driving selling point. A lot of people go to Whole Foods because they feel like when they purchase something there that they are they are voting with their dollars, that they're doing ethical consumption.
Okay. Cho, right? Who's our only real known Ravenclaw.
Yes.
As far as I know, right? And I've read the books extensively and the things.
Man, I hope we're right on this.
We'll check in a second, but for the purpose of this argument, she ends up not with Harry, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, so she ends up
Who is
not with
this
Harry.
character?
Harry has a crush on her. She's this gorgeous girl, and then Harry tries to date her, and we think it's kind of this thing. We think it's going to work out. It's
Right.
sort of when he ends up with a Weasley girl. It's like we're supposed to like for a couple books go in another direction. This is also his heartbreak, if that makes sense. So as a Ravenclaw, she means well, but she makes a mistake and doesn't end up with Harry Potter, which I guess ending up with Hermione's kind of the score in all of Harry Potter, so Ron kind of wins the lottery. Mm-hmm. But ending up with Harry's probably pretty good, if that makes sense. So in that case, Whole Foods to me is more like her. They made one mistake. They mean well, but every once in a while, they make a mistake.
That's really interesting that you would say that just because she didn't want to have to end up with the character who's the protagonist of the story, that she happened to be attracted to a different person, that was a mistake.
It's also worth noting that she is indeed a Ravenclaw. I just confirmed.
Nice,
Okay,
good,
thank
good.
you.
Yeah. No, but fine. Let's take it this way. In the Harry Potter world, from the little that you know, who are the scores coming out of that? Ron, I always thought Ron was the score.
Yeah.
I identified the most with Ron because I'm not like a wizard.
Yeah.
I'm not really good at anything, and I scored a good wife at one point, and everything else. But and I know we're a little off track.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
2 seconds.
You're just getting the
humor
eyes from me being like, all
just
right,
humor
guys.
me for 2 seconds.
Right.
Just
No, yeah,
answer the question. Who are the
big
scores to you?
Dude, this might not be the answer you're looking for.
I'm not. I just
I'm
wanna know
trying
the-
to end up with Hagrid. If you're with anybody, that guy owns. He's got a dragon. He can fix shit. He rides a motorcycle, ladies.
Okay, cool. Michael, who do you think the score is?
Jesus Christ.
And we'll move on from there.
Hermione's pretty great.
There we go.
Of course she. That's
So that didn't help my point
She's
at all, but now I know.
the only answer you get. She's the only option of schools.
Fair enough. All right. Sorry. I apologize. So so you think...
Whole Foods is a Slytherin, in my esteemed
Okay.
opinion.
I think it's a Ravenclaw. Michael.
You made very convincing arguments as to why Whole Foods would be a Ravenclaw. I'm actually, while you were discussing that, it made me realize that Trader Joe's is a Hufflepuff.
Oh, 100% with that
no.
freaking Hawaiian shirt.
Nope.
Like,
And ringing a bell when you do a good job.
it's a very...
That's not why they ring the bell.
Why do they ring the bell?
Or do they do it for that? I always thought it was because they needed... I've always wondered about that, and I think they do it because they need more people, more
I was under the
cashiers.
impression, Trader Joe's fans, let me know if I'm wrong here. I feel like when you...
Hit
when
her
you,
up on Venmo.
When you're like, hey guys, that cashier did a good job. I had a feeling that it was part of Trader Joe's to be like hooting, hollering, and ringing a bell like ding, 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 ding.
Fair enough. Okay, I don't think that's true, but it's fine. So you think they're a Hufflepuff?
Yeah, I think they're a Hufflepuff.
Why?
Because they're the fun, we're organic, but we've also got wild sort of treat yourself foods.
And they don't have their shit together from an infrastructure standpoint. I've never been to a Trader Joe's where their parking lot didn't give me a small panic attack.
That's true.
I think
In Los Angeles, that's absolutely true.
they're very well meaning. I mean, they're definitely more about we're dealing with things that are dealing with food, which immediately sort of shifted into Hufflepuff's wheelhouse, but
Sure.
I do feel that they're we're the family
Sure.
fun grocery store that you go to for that quirky banana chocolate
Sure.
thing that's mixed with almonds. What are we doing?
And they want you to have a sample every time you go. I've never consistently outside of Costco, which we'll get to, I never see sampling anymore.
Sampling.
Sampling.
All right.
Sampling with an N
Yeah, within an
apostrophe.
Trader Joe's, and I actually thought about this for a while. They're obviously Slytherin. No question.
Wow.
Without a doubt. And you think I'm saying this to troll, but it's not true.
No, go ahead.
Okay. On the surface, they're like, oh, we're good and healthy for you. They're insidious as hell, right? It's this narrative and here's why. They don't change ever. Slytherin has a plan for purity. You said it yourself. They have a
Yes.
very specific plan. We know what's good for you for purity. Trader Joe's knows what's good for you. They're acting like it's cheap, blah, 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 blah. But let's say you like those peanut butter pretzels. Who doesn't? They're great.
No, so delicious.
But Trader Joe's sometimes has them, sometimes doesn't.
So you're saying it's because they withhold what
They
you
withhold
want.
and also their infrastructure. Do we know their infrastructure sucks? We don't, do we? And it's every time you go in, you're agitated when you go in the store. You have a very specific, you're only given 5 options of anything. You're like, oh, I'm going to get these things. Sometimes they don't have them and you leave depressed. Right? If you go for a certain thing, because my parents have had it, I've had it where you're like, oh, hey, my wife will go to the store, I'll go and say, I want these things. And you go and you're guaranteed 2 of the things that you love that you're now...
You're guaranteed
Okay.
2 of the 3.
Yeah.
Now I have my
Yeah.
closing argument in the defense of the Hufflepuff Trader Joe.
Yeah.
First of all, which house, if any, would put out a newsletter that looks like steampunk about food?
That...
Not Hufflepuff. Hufflepuff would be more flowery.
Well, not
Steampunk and Hufflepuff are not the same
Hufflepuff's
thing.
creative.
They
in
would
that
think
regard.
they
They're
would be,
artsy.
they're like, oh man, this is so clever. I'm gonna put out a newspaper about the products I'm selling, but it's gonna be fun and look like it's from the Victorian era.
But I don't think there's nothing, much like you said before, Ravenclaw seemed like it was moneyed. There's nothing about Hufflepuff to me that seems steampunky. It's the wrong...
Oh, I'm not like
No, but that's
was the wrong word. It's
sorry,
just
Victorian. Nothing about that. I think they would actually not waste paper. Hufflepuff is going to tell you this and hug you while they tell you.
I just think if anyone's
Or have a bird show up.
gonna give you a free newspaper, of a full column about hamburger patties, Like it's like they write about it the same way that humorists would write about like the greatest summer of their life.
Are you sure it's not hamburger sandwich patties?
You guys, one time I said hamburger sandwich.
No, not one time.
Not one time.
Not
This is
one
not a one-time thing.
This is like a long term.
This is a long time bit.
Like-
Okay. So, who else would say hamburger patty but Trader, hamburger sandwich patty but Trader Joe? Trader Joe like my world famous hamburger sandwich. That's where you're gonna find.
The last point I know, and we've taken off thing. Okay, you know how sometimes this is totally Slytherin. Mm-hmm. Because Slytherin is a purity base. They're almost Nazis, right? Okay.
Yeah, no, definitely.
They really are. Like the
Death
metaphor is.
Eaters,
Yeah, it's awful. Okay, have you ever gotten like the Mexican food from Trader Joe's? Trader Jose's?
Oh, that's racist.
Yep. And Hufflepuff would never be that racist. But
I think Hufflepuff would say something racist on accident and
Yeah.
then feel bad about it for the rest of their life.
And they would change the thing. Trader Jose's is literally, it's like you're supposed to walk in and feel like I'm saving money and feeling good. And Trader Jose's is like a simple thing for white people to be like, oh, it's Mexican food. Slytherin.
I have to say, like, the funniest part is before this, I just want you to join a debate team really badly, Ryan. Because, like,
In high school.
I did debate, like, in college for a little bit. Like,
there feels like there's no hill that you won't die on.
Well, but that's probably true. But also, the trouble is this: like when I became Slytherin and realized well, that was the thing. I didn't know I was, and then this random website put together by somebody, nerds, was like, oh, cool, yeah, probably. It was like, oh, you're a Slytherin. I gotta stick with my people. And I'm not condoning our Nazism. I'm not condoning our death. I'm not condoning our history. What I'm saying is, like, I'm trying to fight from the inside.
I just love that you went full tilt. You were like, oh, if we're doing this, like, full throttle on this guy.
You are definitely you are a Slytherin nationalist, but you do not condone their fascism.
No. I think if anyone, I most identify with Draco's mom.
I thought you were gonna say Drake.
No, yeah, and I most identify Drake. He's a Slytherin, right? Like he's definitely in Harry Potter. All right, let's move to the next.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
So where did we land?
Do we do Costco?
I mean, we don't need to necessarily land on things.
Good.
We're just having a discussion,
Yeah.
and if you, our listeners, are like, oh man,
They're right.
Ryan made the more convincing argument, Katie made the more convincing argument. Going into it, I was definitely feeling Hufflepuff, but you made an exceptional argument for Slytherin. Let's move on to Costco
Cool.
because it seems like you
Costco
got things to say.
It's a whole culture of a store. First of all, their employees work there. I've never seen an employee's tag that said, like, this is my first year. It's always like, I've been here since 1976.
It's impossible for them all to have worked that long. That's funny.
And, like, they're everywhere. Like, it's the only store I can think of that I've, like, almost every state I've ever been in. Like, you can probably
cool.
find
That's
one.
interesting. I don't know. Is that true?
And my favorite thing about Costco that I learned was, y'all ever been to that food court? They got that hot dog soda combo that costs $1.50.
It's incredible.
This is true, you guys. They've been selling it at that same price point since the 1980s.
So
they've never adjusted it for inflation.
So you're making the argument for Gryffindor?
Absolutely. Because Gryffindors, they're pretty well beloved. They take care of people. But Harry's pretty good at dark arts magic. And I feel like you'd have to. How the hell are the hot dogs not just made out of old Chinese newspapers at this point? For that price.
First off, why do they have to be Chinese?
Oh, I don't know.
Exactly.
I just feel like you can order stuff from China and there's no shipping. How does that happen?
I don't even have an argument against that.
Right.
Costco's Gryffindor.
I mean, if we're in agreement, like we're in agreement.
Costco's definitely Gryffindor. It's like, because the one thing I would say would be,
and sometimes it's a bit too much. A Gryffindor, they
No,
a bit too
right.
much.
I
don't need that much mustard.
They come on very hot, which
Yeah.
is like, they're bold and brash.
Yeah.
Like sometimes to the detriment of like, we don't need this much.
These many pickles. Yeah, that was the thing. Is like they assume they're like somebody, a Gryffindor in the company is like, holy shit, I like pickles.
Right.
People like pickles.
And they're also like, guys, we can get them all these pickles at such a low cost if we happen to order far too many.
And in the worst way, they see the world as they see it, where like everyone would want that many pickles because one of them one time ate a bunch of pickles at a party.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, like Harry Potter, they seem to be a celebrity because I have never been inside of a Costco that had any less than 45,000 people
All
in
the
it at
time.
one time.
Yeah.
There can be the slight argument, however, that they are a bit Slytherin in nature because it does require a membership.
Yeah, very gatekeeper-ish.
But also the most. Hold on.
I'm just
and I'm not
devil's
saying this
advocate
as a Slytherin, as a card-carrying member of the Slytherin, whatever it be.
Where'd you get that card?
Well, Pottermore, just that last thing.
He
They
printed
sent
it
for
out, yeah.
I made my own. Gryffindor is actually harder to get into and a little more elitist.
Oh, I would definitely say that. If not elitist in the fact that it's hard to get into, Gryffindors are like, they think they're the shit.
Yeah, you can tell they have
Yeah.
that little bit of thing in their step.
But they're like, but I'm not doing it in an ego way. I'm just telling the truth.
Good. Yeah, I'm just telling the truth of being
Right.
good. Yeah, exactly. And they have good shampoo.
Right.
Oh,
so
for
Look at their
real.
hair compared to.
So we got our Costco, which is like big brand box store that's everywhere.
Yep.
Where do you categorize Walmart?
Are we saying Walmart is a grocery
now.
store?
It is now. It's much like Target is now.
It has a grocery component to it. I wouldn't go full tilt with Target falling into a grocery store yet, but
they have that whole section. But
yeah, there's like when you go into a Walmart now, there's like an entire third of the store.
and there's also
that is-
Walmart grocery stores.
Oh yeah,
Like
the
that
super
you have to-
Walmarts.
yeah.
If any of you guys say that Walmart's not a Slytherin, I will.
Yeah, I mean
will
that's
eat my
that,
puff.
that I think that's I don't know.
It's
Slytherin.
I just wanted
they
it
go into
said.
Yeah,
they
it's-
go
yeah,
into
Walmart's Slytherin.
communities. They drive out small businesses. They bust unions.
Yeah, they're Death Eaters.
Yeah.
Like they're full on card carrying. That's card carrying Death Eaters. It's just dark
Right.
and weird.
I mean, I assumed that much,
Yeah.
but I wanted to bring it to the floor before we were like, yep.
Yeah, that's
Like Sam Walton's a name that you say it and everyone's like, Sam Walton.
Yeah, you don't want to say that.
Are we? If you say it 3 times, he appears. Are we thinking? I mean, Kmart to me, it's a smaller brand. I almost feel like it's a Hufflepuff just
How
because
is
it's.
Kmart a grocery store?
I'm just seeing it right here. Well, it's a Kmart Supercenter.
Sure,
Sorry,
okay.
as
For the
far
that's
as
fine, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
looking in the national
I would
chains
say
listing.
I could argue that Kmart might be a Hufflepuff in that you never know what you're gonna get, but it's always a hot mess.
And it's always gross. and
I've
probably
never been into a
expired.
Kmart where anything where it was where it was supposed to be,
Yeah.
that there was not a child like laying in a puddle in its own filth.
It's well-meaning.
You seem a little Slytherin as you say that. For a Hufflepuff, you're a little judgmental
Whoa.
in their own filth.
Okay, so Kmart was a quick one.
Yeah.
Now,
Is there a Hufflepuff store for sure?
we're now like the 2 big ones that we haven't really touched on
Yeah.
that we are familiar with would be Kroger and Albertsons.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I'll throw in, just because of the name is funny, Piggly Wiggly is definitely a Hufflepuff.
Yeah.
What?
That's true. That's
Piggly
like
Wiggly.
that's a southern spot, right?
Yeah.
That
much
would
love
be
to
true.
the Piggly Wiggly.
Yeah, you feel like they decide certain things on the day of.
Yeah.
They probably have a lot of barbecue. There's probably a down homey dude that like sort of was like, oh, we're gonna do this. What's on sale?
Absolutely.
They decide on the day.
Gotcha.
They scream a lot.
So we went regional.
yeah,
for a
just
moment.
for the purpose. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right, so-
Piggly Wiggly's definitely in that camp.
Much love to my ancestors from Texas.
Are they
My
alive?
ancestors. I said that like they're all dead.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's the 1800s, Katie. Reed.
Okay, so our large ones that we have left that we are familiar with is Albertsons and Kroger, which at least as far as California goes, I'm only really familiar with Lucky and Pavilions and Vaughn's as far as the Albertsons, and Safeway as far as Albertsons goes, and Kroger with like Ralph's, Payless, and Food for Less.
Okay.
So to me, they feel like they fall into Ravenclaw territory, maybe, but I'm not. There's not enough evidence. Like they actually are. Both brands are very vanilla.
They are. I think
sure.
on purpose.
You gotta
Yeah,
you gotta look
intentionally.
into the
Which,
detail.
which makes me think that it is a calculated thing, which then makes me lean Ravenclaw.
Oh yeah, these are definitely the 2 chains that like revolutionized the card membership.
Oh, by saving
angle.
money by having a
saving
card, yeah.
money. You and like they're like, it's a symbiotic thing, you guys. We give you deals by shopping here exclusively, and in turn, we're taking all of this data that you're giving to us
Yeah.
about,
Yeah,
and
true.
we will know how to better serve you and increase our profit margins. They're both Ravenclaw.
I think. Well, I can say Kroger is like definitely in that Ravenclaw camp.
Is Kroger Albertsons?
Kroger is
Ralph's.
Is Ralph's.
Yeah.
And Food for Less and Pay Less. Like those are all very big on the membership thing. I know that Vaughn's and Pavilions is as well, but I don't think it's as strongly pushed.
Yeah.
They both have definitions based on your economic class of a store that you'll like. Like
Right.
Pavilions is a little more high end, Vaughn's is a little more high end, and then they have their lower, like they're not lower class but lower dollar ones. The same with the other one.
Yeah.
Like any good corporation, they have a very specific like McDonald's does and everyone else. They reach to a certain thing and they have something that you're comfortable with.
Right.
I feel like you'd have to like look at each store individually
Yeah, it's
because
true.
each store like they come from the same family.
Yeah. Mhm.
But like I learned in the new Harry Potter sequel, sometimes you can have two Potters. One is going to be a Slytherin, you guys. So it's like weird fan fiction, like, oh, Harry Potter's son is a Slytherin. How will he deal? Sorry, I'm going to get off my soapbox about that.
I still
really
haven't read
immediately.
Cursed Child yet.
I wouldn't know. Is that the new thing?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the play.
it's the sequel
In the play?
play.
Okay, and so his son is Slytherin.
Oh, by the way, can we talk about... Okay, did you guys know that the events of the Harry Potter books and movies takes place in the late 80s and early 90s?
No.
Like when Cedric the Entertainer gets killed at the
Yep.
at the wizarding tournament. That
Cedric
takes place...
Diggory.
No, the Entertainer.
That takes place in 1994.
That seems about
And
right.
so what I have to ask is why didn't any of these wizard fucks save Kurt Cobain?
He's a muggle.
He-
They're busy.
okay.
They're busy.
Muggles can also be special.
So Hermione's the one to blame, not Harry.
I
I'm
mean,
just saying...
Hermione's the only one with muggle.
The
The
only-
trouble is she's a muggle denier too.
The only thing that ever clued me into what time period it was set is Dudley is stated to have a PlayStation in one of the books.
Oh, he has a
Like
PlayStation 1?
A PlayStation 1.
Oh.
And
Okay.
there's a distinct lack of stuff.
Somebody also told
Yeah.
me that Ron's dad has a bunch of like 90s CDs in his car.
But Ron's dad's whole thing is about old
Yeah,
stuff.
he's
His whole
he's
thing is
kind of a futzy mess.
yeah, and he's like he's excited about all stuff. So okay, back to the lecture at hand.
Yeah, I mean, I think, truth be told, we've kind of knocked out the big ones.
Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
If there are any smaller stores that you're like, hey, I got beef to talk on, like...
Would you guys consider maybe in a more urban environment where it's a food desert, would you consider 7-Eleven to be a grocery store?
Yep, I've bought many a grocery from there.
I feel like I buy almost exclusively all of my groceries from there. 90% of them are Slurpees.
That makes sense. That's why. Yeah.
I mean,
you're right.
I'd describe that more as a liquor store, but if we want to touch on it...
Whoa!
Sir, did you know that you actually cannot buy liquor at a 7-Eleven? You
Not
can only
even
buy
close.
beer and wine.
Wow.
Okay, I clearly don't go into 7-Elevens
Ever.
enough.
But you can
Also-
buy an egg salad sandwich. You can buy a
banana.
tuna fish sandwich.
Also, I really don't do alcohol that much, so like that in and of itself,
do alcohol. It's pretty obvious.
right? Again, Ravenclaw.
Yeah, Ravenclaw.
But sure, let's
7-Eleven,
let's
that's a
close
good
things out with
finisher, yeah.
7-Eleven, real fast. What do you got?
I'm going to say that it's a Gryffindor. It's serving the people. They work long hours. Every year they give away Slurpees on 7-Eleven Day, but I will say they don't give you enough Slurpee for your taste buds. How are you only going to get 7.11 ounces and call that a drink? I don't think so.
So 7-Eleven, if you change your policy
Katie,
or want to
I'm looking
sponsor
for an
us,
endorsement.
So that 7-Eleven is the most Hufflepuff thing we've talked about.
Okay.
yeah.
Honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, because I think 7-Eleven is so cool, it's definitely a Hufflepuff.
I mean, they're really leaning into like, we just want you to have food. Like, be sure to be okay, guys.
They
Yeah,
also
yeah.
had, at one point, they had this food thing that even and this is saying something, this is saying a lot. They had a food that I was like, there's no way I can eat that. That is not good for you.
Which is?
They had these Doritos things
Mm-hmm.
that were like little, like, fried pockets of nacho cheese
Oh, yeah,
covered in like
sounds incredible.
Doritos crumbs, and it was kind of like if a tater tot had a molten cheese
Yeah.
inside.
Yeah, it just seemed like bad news.
Yeah, and they're my argument.
but also delicious.
they're locally owned too. There's one on every 3 blocks, and it's like they're locally owned by people, and they give people a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
you go. 7-Eleven's Hufflepuff.
All right. So let us know if you you agree, disagree. You know, you
let's get those hot takes on grocery stores, guys.
Yeah, and let us know any other grocery stores that we might have missed that you're like, oh, definitely a Ravenclaw, definitely a Slytherin, or what have you. You can always reach Katie and I at that Katie Reed on Twitter, Belated Media on Twitter. You can reach Ryan
At my house with my kid.
You can also find him on Twitter at RP Finnerty.
But at my house with my kid is easier.
Yeah. So thank you so much.
Ryan, thank you for your Slytherin insanity.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
I love you as a debater.
Thank you.
So this is.
And I love
excellent.
you as one of my haters.
That works.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us, guys.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.